This is my life. It's a life of freedom, a life where I'm in control, a life of exploration. Well, before the pandemic, anyway. In what might just be the worst timing in recent human history, I decided to quit my job in the middle of a global pandemic to become a travel photographer, only to then not be able to travel. Still, it's the best decision that I've ever made in my life. I've never been happier. I've never felt more fulfilled. I've never had so much control of my time. I've never earned as much money as I have right now with my current life as it is that I have ever. And even in the midst of a global pandemic, if you're looking to quit your job and create a life that you love as well, I would argue that right now is the best time to get a start on progressing on that. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my story and the calculated steps that I took in order to make this jump. And I'm going to be detailing how long it took me, the steps that you can take on your own as well, and what I was thinking through when I was doing those things. And so if you're looking to quit your job and create a life that you love, then I really hope that this video helps you out. But first, this video is brought to you by one of my ebooks, My Photography Guide to Japan. After having spent thousands and thousands of hours traveling all up and down Japan, in this 300 plus page ebook, I share with you 170 locations across the country, and 50 of those I share in absolute painstaking detail from a photography perspective. So I give you tips and tricks about how to shoot these locations, about how to get there, about what the best time to come is, everything you need to know in order to shoot Japan well. So if you're planning a trip to Japan post-pandemic and want to take the best photos possible, then head over to patkay.com/photography guide to Japan and check out my ebook. Alright, that little ad read will make a lot more sense later on in this video as to why I decided to put it in this video and not other videos. But coming back to quitting your job and living a life that you love. So I wanted to start with my backstory. I think that's really important to know where I came from. So unlike pretty much everyone around me and all my friends at the time, when I finished high school, I didn't go to uni or college. I didn't have any tertiary study at all. Instead, I decided to go straight into the workforce, and I fuddled around in a whole bunch of different things, a bunch of different industries, IT, retail, communications, sales, charity work. I tried so many things. Eventually, I stumbled onto web design, and that's where the beginning of my previous career started. So fast forward 10 years, and I transitioned into UX and product design, and I worked for big companies and little companies and Fortune 500 companies. And I freelanced and I consulted and I created 2 businesses at the same time. And I did a whole bunch of stuff over this decade, almost decade long period of time. But eventually I got to the point where, as a lead product designer, I kind of hit like a skill ceiling of what was possible in the small Sydney Australian market. I plateaued in skill at that point, and I realized I would need to probably spend the next 10 years of my life, the next decade of my life, dedicated to probably a place in Silicon Valley, working for probably a really big company, one that has a really big product team and a lot of highly skilled individuals that I could learn from. During the last couple of years of that career, I started doing photography and I started doing Instagram. And I was starting to get to the point where I was making a little bit of money. And I realized, hey, I could actually, do something with this. I could actually make something out of this. But I didn't want to throw away my career. What kind of crazy person would want to throw away a decade-long career that they worked so hard at, that they still enjoyed, that they earned really, really good money from, that they were really stable in? I felt like I wanted to have at least some kind of taste of what the next decade of my life in product design might look like and might feel like. And so I decided to do a little bit of an experiment. And so I decided to interview for a bunch of big companies. So I interviewed for Google and Facebook and Airbnb and Netflix and a whole bunch of other big Silicon Valley companies. And while I was over in San Francisco interviewing for Airbnb, I realized that my heart just wasn't into it. I realized that the thought of the next decade of spending my life doing the same thing over and over and over again, and probably for realistically the rest of my life as a product designer, that kind of thought, that kind of emotion just weighed a little bit too heavily on me, and I didn't want to do it. And so I thought, well, photography is my new hobby, is my new love. I started to get good at it. I started to get money from it. And I decided, look, if I can make a little bit of money off this right now as I am, then if I put 100% of my effort into it, I can make this thing work, at least for a period of time, right? And if it didn't work, if shit hit the fan and things just didn't work out the way that I had planned, then I could always fall back onto product design later on in the future if I absolutely needed to. And so the planning to escape the rat race began. I devised a plan that broke down into three main parts: getting good, building a runway, and then running like hell. Okay, so this first part is kind of self-explanatory, right? It's kind of in the title, but the idea here is that in order to build a life for yourself that is one where you are pursuing your passions, pursuing your interests, right? Then you need to be damn good at those skills. You need to be so good, in fact, that you can market and sell your skills. That's what you're aiming for. And so rather than just trying to be good, you need to be striving to be world class. You need to know what the level of professional looks like so that you can get up there. And not only that, once you're there, then go a little bit further and then differentiate yourself so that you can stand out in the market and start to monetize the skills and the craft that you will be known for. For me, I knew that if I wanted to make a new life for myself through photography, that I wanted to do it as a travel photographer, which is ironically really, really difficult because travel photography requires you to be good at so many different styles of photography, whether that's street photography or portraiture, landscapes, cityscapes, architecture. You need the skills to be able to do them all and do them all well. So if anything, I've shot myself in the foot with that. But, that also meant that in order to strive towards that level of skill, it meant that every single day, I went out for at least 1 hour to shoot street photography in a city that I feel personally isn't all that interesting, but the objective was to sharpen the skills. It meant that a couple of times a week, I would be going out to be shooting sunrises on my own most of the time. It meant that I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on gear that was mostly useless because I experimented a lot and got to know a lot of the specifications of those things and how I could add them to my kit. It meant that I was eating and sleeping and breathing photography day in, day out for years at a time to get my skill set to a point where I could sell it. Because the thing is, right, if you don't have any value to give to the world, then you're not going to get any value back. If you want to build your dream life, pursuing your passions and your interests and whatever else you're interested in, then you've got to know how you contribute to society in a positive way with those skills. And it has to be like that. There is no other way, right? And to be honest, you wouldn't want it to be any other way either, because, using your skills and your craft in service of the people that matter gives you a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in life that is just so necessary to living a life that you're content with. And for me, this took years of eating, years of sleeping, years of dreaming and studying photography and getting good at it, all while I was still working as a product designer. But once I felt like I got to a good point where I was good enough to sell my skills, then I started to build the runway to then make my escape. All right, so building a runway is about building up enough escape velocity to get out and stay out. And this is a really important concept, right? So imagine like SpaceX is building a rocket. So a rocket, I mean, how many parts does a rocket have, right? I don't even know. But there's so many things that go into the creation of that rocket. There's so many checks that needs to happen. There's so much fuel that needs to be calculated and used, right? There's a destination where that rocket needs to go. And so building a runway is a lot like that, right? Because what will happen is initially you will cause this big commotion and this big stir and this big fuss, and you'll launch out the gate. You'll head towards the atmosphere, into the stratosphere. But then if you don't have the right runway, you'll come crashing back down into Earth in a spectacular fashion. And so building a runway correctly is about getting past the Earth's gravitational pull and making your way to Mars, right? All the way into deep space. It's about ensuring you have enough and you've done enough to get out and then stay out. So for me, I break this part into 3 bits. Intentionally designing a life that I wanted, saving up money, and then earning money. Okay, so here's the thing, right? If you're looking to make the jump, realize that the thing that you're jumping into can be anything you want. You're gonna make this huge spectacle and this huge jump anyway, so you might as well be jumping into exactly what you want that to be. Don't make any concessions. Don't have this like preconceived idea of what a potential life looks like. Your life can be 100% custom to how you want it to be. So for example, if you want to wake up and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go to New Zealand for 2 months this morning, just because I feel like it, just on a whim, right? Then you can design a life that enables that to happen, right? If you want to be able to buy a camera, any camera, the top of the range camera, whatever it is that you want to buy, without looking at your bank account and feeling like your soul is going to be absolutely destroyed and crushed, then you can do that for yourself as well. If you want to work only a few hours a week, max, every single week, then that's totally possible as well. I wanted all of these things in my life, and now I have them. And they're all deliberately aligned to these 3 freedoms that I don't remember which book I read this idea out of, but basically there's these 3 freedoms that I wanted in my life. Location freedom, financial freedom, and time freedom. Location freedom means that you're not bound to a particular location or a place, and that you can travel the world whenever you want to. This is really important for me as a travel photographer especially, but the breakdown of it means that you're not tied financially to a particular city or a particular country. You can earn income from anywhere you are in the world. It also means that you're not bound by people or like a set of people in a particular place at any one time. You have the option to leave if you need to. It means that you can move around wherever and whenever you would like to. Financial freedom is not about being a millionaire. It's about being pragmatic with how much you actually spend, understanding how much you actually spend, and understanding how much you want to spend in the future and working your way towards that. It means that you're okay with a few $100,000 rather than, this crazy idea of being a millionaire with Lambos and big mansions and all that kind of stuff, right? Because happiness is not found at the end of a $100 bill. And finally, and perhaps the most important one for me, time freedom means that you are 100% in control of your own time. That means that if I want to spontaneously take 2 to 4 months off, because that's how long visas last, to go to New Zealand, for example, then I can do that, right? Or if I want to just take the afternoon off just because I feel like walking, then I can do that. Or if I want to only work 2 to 4 hours a week at most, even though I end up working a lot more than that because I just like to work anyway, then I can do that. And it also means that I don't feel bad that I can make these decisions on a whim whenever I want to. This for me is the ultimate freedom. The point here is that lifestyle design is intentional. This is about living a life that you want, a life that you design, not a life that society thinks is acceptable or thinks that it should be. The point here is to break those barriers and truly understand yourself and how you want your life to be. Have that as a goal and then work towards that over the next 5 to 10 years, because direction is everything. But also make sure that your direction is something expansive, something exciting, something worth striving towards. That's the main point of this particular bit. Okay, so now we've got some skills and we've got a goal. The next step is to save money. And this bit is so important. Seriously, it's so important. You need to save money before you even think about making the jump. You need to do this so that you can give yourself the mental headspace to work really hard at the thing that you're trying to do and not worry about, falling under or having to go back to your plan B. Whether or not you use this money is irrelevant. It actually doesn't matter at all, right? But the first few years of you're making the jump and you're living this life is why you want this stash of money, right? Because it's going to be really turbulent at best. and I'm saying that really kindly, but what you want is to have a amount so that when things go sideways, when shit hits the fan, like if the world suddenly falls into one of the worst pandemics in human history, then at least you've got a little bit of runway to make sure that you can continue keeping on doing the things that you need to do. So here's what you do. Based on the level of confidence you have in yourself, build up 6 to 12 months of living expenses and put them into a savings account as your emergency fund. Yes, this means you have to calculate exactly how much you spend every single month. Rent, food, subscriptions, Netflix, everything. You can calculate a shoestring budget if you want, right? You can simulate you living through a shoebox apartment or something like that every month. That's totally fine. Just make sure you do this calculation properly. Give yourself a little bit of pillow to work with, because this emergency fund is your absolute backup, right? Your plan B. So for me, I saved up 9 months worth of travel expenses based upon the life that I wanted to have. So I did calculations based on, how much I would spend in hotels and accommodation, how much I would spend in public and private transport when I'm, exploring a country, for example. I was budgeting away things like subscriptions. I was, calculating things like insurance, how much money I would spend on food every day, literally like everything. So this took me a year and a half to get from end to end. And 2 years after making the jump where I am right now, I'm probably not going to use it. I haven't touched it since, and I don't think I'm ever going to touch it. But that's not the point. The point is making this emergency fund so that you have the peace of mind that you can keep going on if something goes wrong. This mental technique is far more important than the actual runway itself, because it fuels you emotionally and mentally and gives you that space to keep doing the best that you need to be doing. So, big topic, earning money. And this is a gigantic topic, so big that I could make an entire course on it. So I'm going to try and keep it short for the sake of this video. But the general idea here is that you want to break up your approach into one of two things: products or services. Products is about creating something with the skills that you have and then trading that thing for money. Services is about using your skills and your time and trading that as a thing to sell for money. Okay, again, I don't want to get too deep into this, but the idea is to have some kind of income that is repeatable over time. Let me repeat that one more time. You need an income that is repeatable before and after you make the jump. You need this confidence, right? You need this confidence to be able to know that you're not going to be just jumping into nothing, right? You need to know that when you do make the jump, you'll be able to swim properly. And you trust me, if you are like thinking about making the jump at all, you need to do this right now, because it takes quite some time. Now, whether or not you are getting repeatable income from products, from clients, from advertising, whatever, do whatever you can. You just need to make sure that you're earning money now and you're going to be earning money in the same or similar way after you make the jump. For me, I had a solid idea of what I wanted to sell, and majoritively that is my ebooks. And that's why I did that ad read at the very start of this video, because that is one of my major sellers and one of the things that I wanted to give value into the world with. In addition to that, there's 8 other revenue streams that I decided I wanted to use as well. And that reminds me, this approach is what's called the octopus method, which is basically just a fancy way of, saying get your income from every which way possible that you can potentially manage. For me, that was 8 different ways, but for you, that could mean anything from, building products, selling your services and selling your time, working with agencies, working with companies, making books, selling prints, selling courses, doing workshops, using affiliate links, making something out of like a crowdfunding thing. Whatever it is that you can get your hands on, make sure you diversify all of your revenue streams so that you're not at the mercy of any single one at any time. Doing it in this way not only gives you this kind of redundancy and this peace of mind, but it also increases your ability to earn more as well. So your potential for income is even greater when you have a whole bunch of different income streams. And then once you do all of that, it's time to run like hell. Run like hell, quit your job, make a big splash, have a big commotion, celebrate your freedoms. You have deserved it. Welcome to the 1% of people that don't want too much to the beat of society's drum, Welcome to the 1% of people who decide to do their own thing, decide to create their own lives, and decide to take control for themselves. It's a huge deal. But right now, you're probably really tired, so you should be taking a break, because the 1 or 2 or 3 or more years that it takes you to build up all of your skills, to design your life, to save up money, to get a repeatable income. These things are hard and they do take many, many years to do correctly. But now your runway is set and you're ready to, after you've gotten out, you're ready to stay out, which is fantastic. So take a break. Take a month off, take 2 months off. The best part about it is that you do have the time freedom to be able to do those things. Take a break, but when you come back, guess what? You're gonna need to run like hell again, because look, if you think about this logically, right now you are at the start again. You need to build your foundations again. You are a beginner again. The world doesn't owe you anything, and because you're at the start of this new journey, you need to build everything from scratch. And so, once you come back from that big break, you need to spend the next couple of years working really, really hard to get your goals fulfilled and to get to that level. So spend that time wisely and run like hell. But know that now that you're running with freedom, the paradigm changes. The paradigm towards how you approach this work shifts. And, these freedoms, they have their pros and their cons, right? Their pros is that if you do this lifestyle design thing correctly, if you make goals that are attainable and are clear with exactly what you want, you can get it. And it's really, really achievable. But the cons is that there are some days where you can be at the mercy of your worst self. Because you're your own boss, you can be at the mercy of poor decisions, of not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, and not having anyone to answer for those decisions. So sometimes you do need a way to combat that, and you need to create systems and processes for yourself to be able to not feel guilty about it, because mental health is a big, big issue when it comes to this kind of stuff. But also to just get on with the work when you need to. Know that you have deadlines and you need to get it done either today, tomorrow, whenever, and making sure that you're efficient with your process and you're working towards your goals every single day. Now, all of this is just how I decided to approach building a life that I love, right? I'm not saying that this is the way, this is the only way. There are so many different ways to building this kind of life and approaching lifestyle design. But for me, this worked, right? Right now, I am 2 years-ish into being 100% my own boss. And even in the midst of the worst timing in human history, in the midst of a global pandemic, I'm earning more per year now than I ever would in the next decade of me climbing the product design ladder, right? I'm doing so as well with 100% location freedom. I don't need to be anywhere specific to earn my money. And I'm doing it with 100% time freedom as well. I don't need to work, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week if I don't want to, right? I only need to work a few hours a week, but I end up working a lot more than that because I like to work and I'm a bit of a workaholic. But anyway, beside the point. My point is, I'm not saying all this stuff to brag. I'm saying this stuff to inspire you, right? Don't feel jealous about this at all. Rather, take these steps and apply them to your own lives, especially if you are looking to make that jump, because you can do it. Use me as a blueprint. I did this with no financial support from my parents or any external finances or any past savings or anything like that. None of that, right? I also did it without a tertiary education or college or uni or anything like that. And so if I can do it with this blueprint, then so can you. And if you're looking for the blueprint to make that jump, then I hope this video serves you well. All right, this video has kind of gone long enough, and this is a topic that I can talk about for months and months, and I can talk your ear off about it. But, let me know in the comments below if you want to see more videos on this gigantic topic, or if you want to see me make a course about it, because I could go very super into detail with every single one of these points. So let me know in the comments below. As for this video, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button and subscribe and all that good stuff. If you want to join the community, check me out on Instagram, on Patreon, and on Discord. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, get out there and make something that matters. Peace.